I'm Corey Osuna. Together we're going to make the necklace and earring set that I'm wearing. Let's get started with the supplies. I have E6000 glue and a cup to hold it up. You can use any fabric glue that you have. I also have embroidery floss. 2 different colors. Feel free to use any color combination that you like. I have a skewer. You'll see what that's for in a bit. End caps, magnetic closures, jump rings, earring hooks, and I have a card here that measures 3 inches across horizontally, and a couple of rubber bands. Why don't you go on ahead and gather your supplies, and then we'll get started making the chain portion of your necklace and earring set. Let's begin by opening our packet of embroidery floss. For this demo, I have chosen to switch just temporarily to show you to an embroidery floss that's coral color because I feel like the white might be a little hard for you to see, although I will continue using the white after this step. So first things first, let's open our packet. So here we just slide off the packaging, and once we've done that, we can untwist. So as I'm untwisting, you can see it untwists nicely. Now I have 2 ends that are still in a loop. So we want to find the center of one of these ends. So I'm going to put this side down. I'm going to go for this side. Try to find the center, and if you look in the middle, you can probably find it pretty easily. And go on ahead and continue to untwist. Now you have 1 full loop for your embroidery floss, and you need to find the knot. So here's my knot that is tying my beginning and end together. So put your knot at the very top. That's where we are going to put the rubber band. So here I have about 3/4 of an inch down from the top. That's where my hands are. And I'm just going to start twisting my rubber band to keep this secure. Again, for these purposes, I've switched to the coral color, but I will be using my white floss because that's the one I'm using for this demo in the next step. This is just to make sure you can see those details very well. It's a little harder to see with the white. So my knot is at the top, about 3/4 of an inch down. I have my rubber band. I've twisted around 3-4 times, and then I have a little band left over because I'm going to use this part to hook onto the knob, and then I will be able to secure the actual floss and braid. So before I can take this to the knob, I'm going to go to the opposite end and just cut it open. So where are my scissors? Here they are. Cutting this open, and that is how we begin the process to create the braided chain for our necklace set. Again, that knot is right at the top, 3/4 of an inch down on rubber band, so it's nice and secure. It's not too tight so that I can use this tiny bit to put on the knob of my cabinet. That will secure and hold the braid in place, and then I will move on by separating into 3 parts and braiding. So in the next step, you'll see me doing just that, and I will switch back to the white embroidery floss. I'll see you there. I've connected my embroidery floss to my knob with a rubber band, and I've also placed a rubber band on my wrist so that I can use it to tie the end of my braid. The next step is to separate the floss into 3 equal parts. And now I'm going to braid. I'm going to braid the full length of the floss, and I'll stop about 3/4 of an inch from the end of my floss. That's where I'm going to place the rubber band that I have on my wrist. That will help to secure it. Here's a quick tutorial on how to braid. First, separate your strands into 3. Essentially, you're going to take your outside pieces and you're going to bring them to the center, and then center pieces and place them on the outside. So I'm going to start on the right with my black strand. So I'm going to take the right strand underneath the center brown. Now the brown center goes to the right. Now with my middle finger, ring finger, and pinky, I'm going to grab underneath that black for my left strand that was white and switch my center black to the left. We're going to repeat that process. The right side brown underneath the white center, and now the white center goes to the right. And then the grabbing takes place with my middle, ring, and pinky fingers. I'm going to reach for that left strand underneath the center brown. Now that left strand comes to the center, and that brown that was in the center is on the left. So we are going to continue this process for the entire length of your chain. Right side underneath that center, now the center goes to the right. Left side under the center, now the center goes to the left. Right side under the center, center goes to the right. Left side under the center, center goes to the left. It does take a little practice, but you'll find with maybe say 3 or 4 tries, you'll be able to do very well. I'm going to continue braiding, and then I'll meet you at the next step. Right side center. Now the center goes to the right. Left side center. Center goes to the left. Right center. Center goes to the right. Left center. Center goes to the left. Now that I've braided the entire length of my embroidery floss, I am going to use the rubber band that was on my wrist to secure the ends of my floss. So here I am twisting the band around. That's 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 times I'll do it, so that it's tight enough to hold, but also loose enough that I can take the band away when I need to. So there I have my full length of my chain, and it's secured with the rubber band about 3/4 of an inch from the end of my floss. Let's head over to the work table to continue. Now that I have braided the chain, and one end where I began that is still folded has the rubber band, and then the second end where I cut open and I see my loose ends has a rubber band, the next step is to wrap a little bit of the floss around just above the rubber band and glue. So let's do that. So I'm going to start on the end where I've cut the floss. I'm going to take one strand and put it to the side. The other strands are sticking straight up. Now I'm going to open my glue, and I'm going to glue around just above the rubber band. So I've glued around just above the rubber band, and I'm going to take that strand that's sticking up and just wrap around a few times, pulling really tightly, and I'm going to push my finger to hold it. That's one. Now I'm going to repeat the process. I'm going to pick a second strand here, and I'm going to wrap the other direction. pulling really tightly, and push my finger to hold it. See here, I'm twisting, making sure that that glue holds those strands in place. And now I'm going to repeat, maybe 2 more strands. So I'm going to add some more glue. The idea is we're sealing this edge. Notice as I add the glue, I was twisting the strand of floss. Pick whichever strand you want to use to wrap and twist it around, squeeze it so that everything holds nice and tightly. Now that I've done that, I believe we have completed one side of our chain. Moving on to the second side, I'm going to take the knotted portion. So I'm going to cut that open and repeat the same process. Now that I have the knotted portion, aha, there it is. You can see this is the loop. I have a beginning and an end because I cut the knot open. I'm going to glue just above the rubber band. And as I'm turning the embroidery floss chain, I'm making sure to get the glue all the way around, and then I'm just going to grab my end and pull and wrap it around nice and tightly. Squeeze it so that that glue can hold for a moment, and then I'll do the same going in the opposite direction with the other side. Okay, there I am, and now I'm squeezing. I'm going to add a smidge more glue. I have a good beginning. As I'm turning the piece, I'm gluing. And I'm just going to twist with my hands to make sure that that glue holds where I wrapped. Squeeze it just a little bit, and all of this is taking place just above your rubber band. Squeeze it and hold it in place. There we are. So now I'm going to allow my chain to dry for about an hour. Then I'm going to move on to the tassels. For the tassel portion of our project, we're going to grab our card that's 3 inches wide and our embroidery floss that we're using for the tassel. In this case, I'll make a tassel that's white. So I have placed a rubber band about 3/4 of an inch down from the top where that knot was, and the opposite side I cut open just like we did when we were preparing the braid. Now I'm simply going to leave about 3/4 of an inch above the card and wrap around once. That is the beginning of tassel number 1. I'm going to cut the excess and place rubber band. So here I'm cutting and placing the rubber band. The rubber band is just temporary so that we have time to let the glue dry. Remember, you want to twist the rubber band so that it secures, but not too tightly where you can't slide your tassel off of the card. So just keep that in mind. And that is how we prepare tassel number 1. You're going to repeat that process for tassels 2 and 3. In case you've decided to do 2 layers for your tassel that are 2 different colors, prepare them the same way. So the folded edge of my floss has the actual rubber band 3/4 of an inch down from the top, and the opposite end is cut. So now we will just wrap around the card, leaving that 3/4 of an inch at the top. and a second time. So now we have our double color tassel. I'm going to place the rubber band on top just to secure it, and then we'll be prepared for the glue. That's 1, 2, remember not too tightly. This is 3 and maybe 4 times, that'll secure it. So now I have a double layer for my tassel. Either way that you decide to do it is totally fine. I just wanted to be sure that I showed you both. So it's been about an hour. Here I have my chain. It's been drying, so now I'm going to remove the rubber bands and begin to add the end caps. I'm going to take my scissor and just cut the rubber band only, being sure not to cut the floss. And that comes out very nicely. So you can see that it was held together with the glue and the strand of floss that I wrapped around, and I'll repeat the same for the other side. This is why we didn't tie the bands too tightly, because we do need to get rid of them. So while this comes off, I am going to get ready to get my scissor, and so there we are, we're in place here. Now I'm going to trim. I'm going to trim it to about 1/2 inch to even that up. And now I have my left side and my right side. I'm going to take the end cap and the skewer. So I'm putting a little tiny bit of glue on the inside of my end cap, filling it up only about halfway. So there's the glue on the end cap. I'm going to take the skewer and the braid, and I'm going to insert them. So here's my end cap, here's the braid. I'm pushing this and squeezing it so it fits inside of that end cap, and now my skewer is going to help me. Push it all the way in so that it goes to the top. As I do that, I just want to be careful that it goes all the way to the top of the end cap and my braid stays intact. So here I've pushed this in all the way, and now I'll do the same for the opposite side. I have the end cap in my hand, putting some glue inside to fill it about halfway. Once it's full about halfway, I'm going to take the braided portion, squeezing it with my finger and thumb, and push it all the way inside. That's how we start. So as I'm squeezing that in to start, now I can move over to the skewer and push it all the way in very, very carefully. Let's continue this process of pushing this in carefully. So far, this is where I am. I'm going to check to be sure it's all the way in and just push a little more and see if it'll go. It went in another 1/4 inch. Not bad. And now I have completed the second side. So here we can see we have both end caps in place, and we'll let those dry for a few moments while we move on. Now that our tassel has dried, I've trimmed it down to about 1/2 inch from the top, and it's time to put glue inside of our end caps and insert the tassel. So filling this halfway, just like we did when we prepared the chain itself. Filling it halfway is our beginning. I'm going to grab my skewer so I can be ready. Now we take the tassel and we squeeze it inside of the end cap. So as I squeeze this and pinch it together and push it into the end cap, this is my beginning. You can see I just take my skewer to continue. And as I push all the way, the tassel goes further and further into our end cap. Let's make sure that I'm going to push a little more. Same process that we did when we created our braided chain. Okay, so I've used my strength to push, and now the skewer, it will help me to push a little further. The strength of my fingers is how we started, and then the tiny point of the skewer is very helpful for getting each little end all the way into the top of our end cap. Give it a nice little push. Check both sides, make sure you like what you see. And we're almost there. There we have it. Now we let our end cap and tassel dry for about 30 minutes, and then we're ready to put on our earring hook. Repeat this same exact process for all of your tassels, and then you'll be ready to move forward to the next step. Now that we've applied our end caps to both our chain and tassel, it's time for us to add the jump rings. So I'll start by picking up one tiny little jump ring, and I bend it open. I'll insert a pic for you to see that, but it's very easy. Insert the actual end cap. It's still open, so I'm holding that very carefully. And then now, let's apply one side of our closure. So here I am applying the side of the closure, and then I'm just going to bend the jump ring back in place. So there we have the end cap, the jump ring, and the closure. Opposite side. So let's pick up our jump ring, bend it to open, apply the end cap, apply the closure, and bend it back in place. And it's just that simple. So there we have end caps, jump rings, and our closure, so that we can wear our lovely necklace. Let's move on and do the same for our tassel. Jump ring, bend it to open, apply the tassel, and now we get to apply the earring hook. Okay, and we bend it backward to close it. Now we have an earring tassel that the only thing we need to do is cut it. Okay, so repeat for all tassels, then grab your scissors and trim. So here are my scissors, and I am going to trim. Notice before we trim, you have a nice long length here. That's why we like the 3-inch tassel. So you can cut it at the very bottom and keep it nice and long, but I'm going to trim to shorten it So that was the bottom, and now I have trimmed to shorten the length. Of course, any length that you desire is completely up to you. So there we are. We have our tassel ready to put on our earring, and we would repeat this same process for our chain. So all we would need to do is take our next tassel, apply the actual jump ring to the chain, and we'll be ready to wear it. That's going to be our next step. Now let's apply the jump ring to the tassel that'll be the center of our necklace. So here I have the two-tone tassel and a little jump ring. Again, I'll insert some pictures for you up close. You bend that jump ring to open, slide it onto the tassel. That's the end cap of the tassel. And then you're simply going to place it at the center of your necklace. So right about here, I want to make sure that I am going to put the jump ring at least, I'm going to say 6 or 7 strands of floss. So put that jump ring through 6 or 7 strands of floss instead of just 1 or 2, which would be kind of flimsy. Want to make sure you have a nice secure connection there. So just with my hands, I have opened the jump ring. Again, no tools were needed, such as pliers for this project. And now I have woven this through 6 or 7 layers of floss, and I am bending it back to close. Once this is finished, that will complete our project. I'm almost sad to see you go, but we'll have to do this again sometime soon. Let me hold up the lovely centerpiece here for you to see our finish right there. La la la, very nice, very exciting. I can't wait to see your necklace. I know it's stunning and fabulous and beautiful as well. Please let me know what you do. Send me a picture on my Instagram at Coriosuna. I'd love to see your wonderful work. Until we meet again, have a great and wonderful creative life.